Hey, I'm Vishal Krishna, the founder of the UpStreamLife.com. Think about it. How do you save, spend, and be debt-free at the same time? Well, this next interview with Paddy Raghavan is going to tell you how to do just that. Paddy, welcome to the UpStreamLife.com. I'm so happy that we're doing this conversation because I want to lead a debt-free life. A lot of them listening to this podcast would also want to lead a debt-free life. What's Multipl all about? Can you just start with that and then I'll go on to your career?
Yeah, thanks Vishal, and it's a pleasure to be here talking to you about Multipl. Thanks for this. Multipl is sort of creating a new category which is helping people to save now and then buy later. Sort of an antithesis to the whole buy now, pay later movement.
Absolutely.
Where we are actually bringing in a very positive habit in a very interesting manner without being preachy. So that's Multipl in a way in terms of what we are trying to do. Just getting into the specifics around how we do it. It helps people to save up for a future spend, and you get two benefits. One is we are a SEBI registered investment advisor, so you get you're basically not saving but investing for your future, short-term spending. So you get returns from the market, and you also get returns from the brands in a way that brands co-invest with you throughout this savings journey that you have, and you get benefit from the brands as well. So this double benefit makes it a really compelling offer for people to actually save up and then spend later.
Absolutely, they can spend or redeem it and keep it for themselves.
Yeah.
They can probably then take it to an FD. I wouldn't advise that now,
Correct.
but they could not even spend that. They can
Absolutely.
continue.
Spending is not a precondition.
Brilliant.
It is just an option.
Okay, I want to start off with your career because you're a old hand in this, and I say old hand, ladies and gentlemen, because he's been one of the pioneers of the cloud industry in India. He started off in Chennai at Venkateshwara Engineering, and then you went to Triple IT. I want to talk about those early experiences in India, right, where all of us were trying to build B2B businesses.
Yeah.
Why did you do the cloud business? Was it the right thing to do at the time? Because most of them were going and working for these big brands, yet you've been a founder for the longest of time, more than 15 years now.
Yeah.
So I want to know that journey.
Yeah. After my Triple IT, I had this opportunity to get into EMC data storage system. So that's where I started my career. And EMC at that time, and it was it was a startup in India. Though it was pretty big in the US, it was pretty much a startup in India. We started right here in Monotype in Bangalore. We were just about 30-40 people when we actually started. So I was part of that initial team. EMC happens to be in the storage space. I was in the product management team looking at storage, looking at what is happening with storage, and that's when AWS happened, in terms of they had their first services around S3 and EC2. So I was just fascinated with the way cloud was being positioned, because at EMC every time we had to get an access to a storage system or a server, we had to put out an order request. It goes to different groups, and then generally it was coming from Malaysia. So it takes about 2 weeks to come to Chennai, the port, and then back to us. So it was easily 4 to 6 weeks process if things go really well. And
that was how data would move then.
Exactly.
That's slow.
Yeah. So that's when I was looking at this. So it's taking me 6 days, 6 weeks to get access to a server or a capacity, an infrastructure basically. And in cloud, they are saying you can get this instantly. This was really, fascinating for me. And I was thinking this is the way to go forward, and started really doubling down on my understanding and my reading on cloud. And I saw an opportunity to create a business there, and that's when I started my first startup in 2008, moving into cloud. So that's where the journey started.
That's an interesting time. The reason we're all here is because of cloud, hands down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there wouldn't have been any startups, or India being the third largest or second largest startup economy in the world.
Yeah.
I think it's all because of the cloud.
Right.
How did that journey play out for you? It's been a hard life. You had a tough time. You've talked about this in the past.
Yeah.
But then you got to sell that company, which is what gave you the freedom to then go and say, I can look at other avenues of starting up. Talk about quickly those difficult times in the last 10 years and how that sale has now enabled you to start up.
Yeah, starting in 10 years back or 6 years, 7, 8 years back, when you had to start a company in India, it was very different, right? From things are very good today, access to capital, access to the market itself. But back then it was very different, and you had to, and building software in India was not a market, so you had to sell it outside India, primarily US. So there were a lot of these issues, how you build here and how you sell there. There are companies that are actually doing it very well today, great. But it was a challenge, right? I mean, that was one of the big challenges that we saw building here and selling for the globe, which we were able to do. And cloud itself was very nascent. When we started out, we were one of the earliest adopters of cloud, and within that, our product was a very niche sort of a product, which is around cost optimization. And that's something that people had to be educated about. People had to be they had to experience it before they actually start using it. So there was this whole cycle that it takes to convince people about this. So that those were the challenges, which is kind of once we were through, it was much more.
And
easy.
you got bought over by quite a large company.
Yeah. So Cisco acquired us in 2018, and this was a very very strategic acquisition in the sense Cisco had the cloud product and they didn't have this cost piece, and that's where we fitted into that product seamlessly.
Coming from the B2B world, you've seen the bloodbath that's happened on the B2C world, and now you're in the B2C world, and that too in a new concept called Save Now, Pay Later.
Yeah.
What was the hypothesis of starting Multipl at this point in time?
Yeah, super. I mean, for us, for me personally, with the acquisition of Cisco, it was like a big monkey off the back, and I had a lot of freedom, like you pointed out, in terms of thinking what is the direction that I want to take in terms of what is it that I really enjoy. And B2C has been something that I've been thinking about even before. During my IIIT Masters, I was actually thinking about this, especially in the fintech space. There were some ideas that I was grappling with, and I saw this is an opportunity to actually put that back on something that I have not done before, but that I always wanted to do. So that is where this one started. The whole idea of save now, buy later, like you said, it's not something that was there. So why did we actually choose that? So we thought with the cloud thing, what I was able to do in terms of seeing an opportunity much earlier before it became mainstream. Here also, this is something that I truly believe this is where the world is heading towards in terms of responsible spending, and that is an angle that we tapped into with the whole save now, buy later, and we believe this is something that will bring a positive difference.
This contrarian view that you've taken, I think the audience would appreciate to know that it's all about customer acquisition. Second thing is they know that India's consumption is on the rise. But retail, we talk about 1 trillion economy in India and still growing, and because of our median age, consumption will continue. But what people don't realize that our savings have dropped from 33% back in 2005-10 to 15, I think 18 to 20% at this point in time. Yes, there's an argument and narrative that says that growing economy needs spenders. What they don't realize is I'm very careful when I look at history of nations. The spiral that's happened in the United States, the baby boomer economy, and now the economy is really struggling with inflation.
Correct.
It's very interesting how you brought in this contrarian view now and started this business. Is it difficult to present this view to people out there saying, look, saving is also important. Yes, you will spend, but also save. Do people get that? Or is it a certain level of customer that you're targeting? Or it's for everyone?
It's for everyone, but the environment actually has made it easier, I would say, because when we actually started ideating this COVID was not there. So we were actually ready to do this even before COVID, when people were really spending, like you mentioned around the spending behavior. So people had access to money, access to credit, and COVID happened, and the whole thing. It's a blessing in disguise for us, because people now are very cognizant about what they are spending, what they are splurging on, and that is one thing that we can say that it's actually helped us in a way. As in terms of establishing the category, but it is for everyone. People on credit, it definitely helps them be more prudent. People who are not on credit, who are leaving money in savings account, you mentioned about inflation. So today our bank returns are about 3%. In fact, it's gone
3
down
to 7%. That's
the savings returns. FDs probably is higher, but the CASA accounts, the savings accounts, it's about 3% mostly average. And our inflation is 7%. So we are practically losing money. If I tell you your 100 rupees, Vishal, next year it is going to be 96. If you see that as 96, you will be really upset about it.
I'll be worried.
But you don't see it because the inflation is not visible. It is there, but you don't see it. And that's why you think you have 100. at the end of it, or maybe it has gone to 103 and you see that it is growing. It's actually not right. It's actually become 96. And that's where even people who don't, who are not into credit, but who leave money on, in banks, they're actually missing out on an opportunity by not investing for their spends. And that is the target that we are actually looking at. This is a product, or this is a model which works for everyone, irrespective of their income, irrespective of whether they are a credit person or a credit intolerant person.
Okay, do you evaluate the customer when they come in and then say, okay, these are the kind of, or a bouquet of stocks or bouquet of mutual funds or bonds that they have to invest in? How does the whole process happen with Multipl?
So we are a SEBI registered investment advisors. So we have to do that as part of our compliance, and we do that. We look at a user, we make them go through the KYC, we do a proprietary risk profiling, risk modeling, we understand what is your risk appetite, and then we also factor in a lot of market data points. What is the current environment like? What sort of what is your goal? Is it like a 6 month you want to buy a gadget, or is it like 1 year you want to travel, or is it for 2 years? So depending on your duration, depending on the purpose, so many factors come in, and the allocation actually gives you the right set of mutual funds. So we are today doing mutual funds, and this is completely unbiased. It is in the best interest of the user. We don't get commission from the funds to push something out to you. It is completely unbiased. So it's totally in your best interest that these are the best funds for you, which will help you achieve your goal. And then there is also the kicker that comes from the brands.
And the brands obviously subvent in the form of a reward, a loyalty point.
Exactly.
They're contributing on a monthly basis because you either decided to buy a gadget, like you said, the gadget company contributes some money to your account. The only downside is when I do not redeem the mutual fund or whatever, and I take the money into my CASA account, let's say a savings account, the brand will not give you that money that they've invested.
Right? But you still get your market returns.
The market returns, sure.
which is in most cases better than keeping it idle today in the bank. Right?
Absolutely. So you solved their need to consume. That means the brand is rewarding you. In one way, the market's also growing, so you get that upside. So you enjoy either one of them, or both. Brilliant. What's the downside in terms of this game? Is it customer acquisition, customer narrative? You have to inform them, because the BNPL guys are really out there killing it, right? And they've targeted anybody between 18 to 30, right? So what are some of the tricks of the trade in terms of marketing that you want to handle?
So see, it's one thing which is in favor of us. This is a positive product. So Multipl doesn't win if the user loses. I mean, there are businesses where the brand wins or the company wins only when the consumer loses. You pay an interest, you pay a penalty. It is in my interest if I'm a credit guy. That is when I make money. But that's not the case with Multipl. I win only when you win. So it is in your best interest. So that is why it is like a positive product. So that is a big hurdle that we automatically cross in users' minds, that it's something that is helping you, and that is what is helping us as well. So that's the biggest trick, if I have to say. I mean, transparency is our biggest trick.
No, it's interesting. So that way, obviously, you don't make commissions to push a product. Great. But do you get an investment advisory kind of pay? So as a customer, when I do pay you for that?
Correct. So we monetize from the brands in case you make a redemption with the brand. So we have a rev share with the brands. But
so you'll have to balance the short-term brands and the long-term kind of travel kind
of. But that's only at the time of redemption. There is no compulsion for you to make a purchase with the brand. In case you do, which is actually over and above any brand offers that they already have, which is a legitimate value add from the brands. Like you said, the subvention is what is coming back to the consumer here. So they can, in case they do, that is when we get our rev share from the brand. So that is one way that we monetize. We also, as a RIA, we can charge the user. We are supposed to not charge the mutual funds as commission, but take this from the user. Today we don't do that, but eventually we can, once people see that the market returns that our advisory gives them, it's definitely helping them. That is when we'll actually look at that.
Now let's wear our intellectual hats in terms of economy. I'm going to throw in numbers. What is the average user salary in every platform in India? How do they typically want to say? Let's take a 25-year-old who's just graduated from engineering, BCom. They've got to 25. They have aspirations to travel, save, obviously pay for younger kids' education. When I say kids, they're brothers or sisters. How do they plan their life today? What is some of the observation that you've seen? Because I'm going to connect this to various other aspects of the economy. So I'd like to know, where is India heading in terms of spends and salaries? We've seen the job losses happening, and sometimes I think people are over leveraged. And I don't want them to be over leveraged. So what kind of proposals would you give them in sense of planning their finances?
I mean, we are a really big country and we find all sorts of people. It's very difficult,
Very tricky, isn't it?
Tricky.
Very tricky to put one thing on. Let's look at urban people. Then.
That's true. So within that, if we look at salaried individuals in the age group 25, we are seeing a pattern where people are more aware. Thanks to a lot of these conversations that are happening, people do consume a lot of information. We've been discussing about information consumption, and it has gone beyond mainstream. So people do have certain people that they follow, certain places that they get this access, certain channels, groups that they are part of. So they consume a lot of information. So there is a lot of awareness that is happening, which is the good part. And there is also a bit of responsibility that has kicked in because of that. So people know, and COVID has actually given them that, made them to think about this what if scenarios. Pre-COVID, the what if was not there. People were a little more positive, but in the wrong way. They were actually more flamboyant. Today, now it's sort of, they've kind of become prudent in terms of the COVID happening. So things can go bad. That is there in the back of their minds, even when they are enjoying. So that sort of a balance is what we are seeing in terms of behavior, which is very good broadly. That's a very good pattern that I'm seeing. With some of our own data, there is that behavior that is getting established, which is fantastic. But the job losses and those sort of things, it's definitely real. We are seeing things. The whole winter is coming, sort of a narrative. It's very evident. Right? We've seen this in the US. A lot of companies, large companies in the US, doing massive layoffs. There is a trickle down effect in India also that we are seeing. Some of those US corporations doing that, or even in some Indian companies, this is happening, which is unfortunate, but that's how it is, right? So that's the nature of the game. So people have to be a little more cognizant of it, and then realize that they have to be a little more prudent in terms of their spending or their splurging.
Would you say the young Indian is much better informed in terms of knowing how to spend and save versus our generation who are happy to get a job and stick to it for a while? You've been an entrepreneur, but you know the mindset, right? They want a job, they want stability, they'll work hard. It seems, but then suddenly out of 2015, I saw an entire generation expressing themselves. Therefore, the D2C business of brands has really exploded, right? So how's this dichotomy in terms of the new age person? Does he understand spending versus saving? Then, tying it back to your previous answer, do they really worry about the future? Because I don't think an ordinary citizen worries about what's going to happen to the economy. We, in our generation, we used to blame the government for everything, right? They don't realize that petrol, diesel prices are globally linked. Right? So what's the average understanding of a young individual today in our country?
It's much better, really good. I would say it's very good, though I would still say that it is a bit short-termish. They don't put it the really long-term, because people are bullish. And at young age, it is natural to be bullish.
They have to be that.
They have to be, which is fine. But they are very prudent with the short term, and they know they are very responsible in terms of their spending, which is the good part. Of course, the credit thing is there, the whole instant gratification, the impulse spending, the lure is always there, and that data is there for all of us to see. It is really big. So it's a balance.
They have to find a balance.
Yeah.
Okay, but are you a team of economists at this point of time? Would you want to, because the amount of data that you're getting in, you'll perhaps know how India is spending, saving also. How important is that? I'm talking about your team now. Because most of the startups work on marketing. Mostly thought, let's get customers. I see a deeper rooted knowledge situation here, right? That you can capture and share with people. How do Indians really save in the modern generation? The last report I told you I saw was in 2010. I don't see anything new on how Indians are saving. So my question to you is, how are you building your team? Is it more focused on tech, marketing, or economy and analysts?
So I mean, tech is definitely there. We are sitting in Bangalore. It's a fintech company, so tech is the backbone. But we are actually a team of CFAs on the investment side. So we have serious investment experts who've done CFA, who've been actually advising people, HNIs, in terms of how to invest, how to save, how to get better out of their own money. So that's what the team has been doing. The investment research team is really qualified, they're certified, and they are the ones who are building the whole mutual fund allocation and the investment allocation. So that's a very strong team that we have, and they come with that background. And one of the things that came through their discussions, the investment advisors, they've been actually advising people, and they've seen in their own journeys where people actually oversave, many of them thinking that
people of my generation.
So people actually end up not enjoying their lives because they end up oversaving. And they've also seen cases where people actually go beyond their means, where they want a certain car when they could have actually gone one level down. So they actually over spend in some cases. So, and there the whole thought process from the investment research team was like, we have to bring in a balance. We have to let people enjoy life, but do it judiciously. They should not miss out on the fun part of life. We don't want to be preachy, because when we talk about investment advisors, my own experience has always been like, oh, this guy is going to come and give me a sermon, right? So that is how it is, and they are doing it in the best interest of us, but we are not ready to listen to that, because we have our own aspirations, we have our own lifestyle that we are accustomed to. So that is one of the things that we decided. This product has to be built in such a way that the investment is not preachy, but it is actually enabling you to achieve and pursue your aspirations in a very smart manner.
I'm very curious that with your investment research team and all that you spoke about, with all the data, banks have wealth management practice, right? How do you think these lending institutions can partner with you?
Yeah, so we are already seeing that happen. Kotak Securities and IIFL Wealth are investors with Multipl, so they believe in the story. That's why they've partnered with us, in terms of their investments. And definitely we see an angle where we can work with these larger institutions and help take this concept, take this idea to a much larger audience.
Because you're finishing that life cycle of the customer, right?
Yeah.
Banks always thought, okay, you come to me for education loan, you come to me for business loan, everything is broken.
Yep.
Right? Then they said, if you make money, come to us for your wealth management practice.
Yeah.
Till then, maybe buy an insurance from them or something of that sort.
Correct.
That's going to change now.
Yeah.
Do you see that changing?
Yeah. So for us, that is the change that we want to bring in. So today, you put it really well in terms of how not just banks, the whole ecosystem, how they are thinking is, once you make the money, there is this whole wealth piece, and then there is all this credit for you to consume. That is how it is seen. But today, when actually people do spend, and what used to be earlier was an annual spend was very moderate. People were consuming a lot less. People had very limited needs in terms of what they were spending on. I didn't travel when I actually grew up. We didn't have these vacations, annual vacations, those sort of things. There was no much of gifting that happened. But today that's not the case, right? People love traveling. And travel is the biggest category for us. Just as a side note, but everyone wants to travel, everyone wants to experience things, not just general travel. There are some specific sports travel, that could be music travel. So that's something that across age groups, people want to experience and do this. But the way we are actually doing this is where the problem is, which is where Multipl comes in. We don't invest for these spends, and that's an angle that we are bringing. If you can invest for your long-term wealth, why should you not invest for your short-term?
Brilliant. Without being preachy, would you also say that while you save, for example, I'm a fan of Star Wars, and and a lot of these Star Wars figurines or figures are not available in our country. I have to import it, right?
Yeah.
And when I import them, they are expensive because of the logistics cost. But I want to buy them anyway. But my discretionary spend, I will not stop there. I'll continue buying. Would your team also advise that, look, you are saving for something that you want to buy, or it's your dream of traveling? I'm glad you brought travel as a category. Well, what would happen if people start spending a lot more and then they don't put in money in Multipl? Would you warn them? Would you say that, look, this is your goal, stick to your goal? Does that happen?
Yeah, we definitely don't want people to go beyond their means. And what the nature of this platform itself, the model itself is, when you start saving for something that you want, it may be because I really want an iPhone. It's not to send a signal, it's not to show off, but I really believe in the design, I'm connected to it. I get it, and I start saving for it, and I get the iPhone. That's absolutely fine. So what we are saying is, when you start planning for something, when you start saving for it, only you realize whether you really need it or not. And going back to your first question, where people don't have to spend with the brand. So you start here, and in case you don't find that need really, you may actually go and redeem it, right? So, and if you go and end up buying that, you really want it. That is when you do it. So it's that system itself is so beautiful that you don't actually end up doing things which you don't want.
So you're bringing that certain amount of discipline. I'm glad. I just want to talk about, a lot of the companies that came up and, you gave them cards, and obviously RBI clamped down on them, of course. I have met students from colleges who use these cards, who overspend. Obviously, it's 1 month free, and then after that you have a package that you can pay with interest. What has happened is a lot of these kids, because they're not able to pay back the amount that they've swiped, they go to their friends and start revolving money at a very young age. I think it's a dangerous precedent that we've already set in for this country or economy. I've seen people come in with kids, because I'm generally nice to the kids that I meet, and they come and say, "Sir, can you pay me 40,000 for this month, and I'll pay you back in a couple of months?" And I ask them, "How will you do that?" "Don't worry, sir, I'm getting a job." But then I asked them, what if there's no job? Then I realized one of them was borrowing from multiple people and moving the money. It's scary, isn't it? Therefore, you said debt free, but live your dream.
Exactly.
Is that really, is that going to change in India, or will it continue this kind of behavior? So because of the practices?
That's, very rightly pointed out, and that's the unfortunate thing, right? We are trying to take that behavior on. It's going to take time. It's not an easy thing, because you don't fight instant gratification and social signaling with this. It's not an easy fight to fight. So it is there in our plans to eventually bring that aspect out. But today, that is a real problem. Kids do go beyond their means. They don't see the repercussions. It can really hamper your credit score when you really want a loan for buying a home.
Later on, maybe you get married, maybe you have kids,
exactly.
Then it hurts you.
That it really comes back to bite you. Totally. So that is where people don't see. When I mentioned people are not, they are smart, but they are not really far-sighted today, the young ones. That's something that people should be wary of. I'm not again.
We're not preaching.
At the cost of not
preaching,
not preachy, but just giving those signals, what we are seeing as patterns. Just putting it out there as data points.
I definitely want to see these data points in your blogs in the future, and I'm glad you're doing this. What are the downsides of being an entrepreneur? You mentioned that in the B2B business. In Multipl, what are some of the challenges? I'm glad you just raised money and investors believe in this concept. Because you're a 3-time entrepreneur now, do you think we're in a rat race of saying, again, I'm going back to the customer acquisition thing, does it frighten you that even you are pressured to access so many customers and then go sell to the next customer, next VC? Is that something that you like living, or how do you set your goals as a VC, as a founder? Pardon me.
For me, thankfully given my experience, and it's worked out really well, and I've seen the complete cycle of the whole starting from bootstrapping to exiting and with venture capital. So you've gone through this, so that definitely is a very good experience that I'm fortunate to have. So today, my concern is about building this product, building this category, making a difference. So that is what I'm focusing on. And if I'm doing that right, other things will fall in place. So I'm not really too concerned about the other things. That's one learning or one experience that I've got. But I'm just focusing on building this product, educating people. So challenges there. It's a new category. There is no reference point. I'm not going to be saying, hey, this is like this. There is no like this here. So we are creating this whole thing. So it is a challenge that way, but it is also, when you say challenge, it is very interesting, and entrepreneurs like challenges.
No, well said. Paddy, if you hadn't sold the company in 2018 to Cisco, how would life be for you? Because you had already by then led 10 years as a founder. How would life be then? What would you be doing? Would you still be an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. So that's something that I've decided with my, after my EMC, I said this is my last job, and I'll definitely, I continue to be an entrepreneur. So I would definitely have found some way.
And the good part is, what are the value systems for you? What are value systems for an entrepreneur?
Team is fundamental to your success. So, if we, even today, if you look at Multipl, so I have folks who worked with me from day one in my first startup. So there are guys who continue to do that. So it comes purely because the relationship is very strong. Personally, I believe in the team. My founders believe in the team, and our success is completely due to the team. So it's not I'm just the face. The team actually does the job.
Good. Somebody has to be a spokesperson.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. You have a triple IT connection. Hyderabad, is it?
Bangalore.
Bangalore. And triple IT changed. You have a mentor from there. And how has that shaped up your life?
Triple ID has been like phenomenal for me, in terms of the learning, in terms of my friends, in terms of the professors there. The whole environment was amazing because coming from Chennai, traditional, all my life lived there, and coming here, experiencing this whole angle in terms of different people, different culture. So it was great, my triple ID experience, and we still have our very active WhatsApp groups that I actually reach out to. But not just that, I'm still connected to IIITB very strongly in terms of the alumni council, in terms of the professors, the director that I am in touch with. So they've been like very supportive because even in my first startup, they gave me day zero slot before the big guys could come in to go and talk to people who may be interested in joining us in my first startup. So yeah, IIITB has always been part of my journey.
Interesting. So, if anything, right, I want to ask you that you save. Do you save? That's the question. Do you save a lot?
Absolutely.
But unlike not just in savings account, but you save and invest.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
That is the joke inside the company. So I'm one of the top guys in terms of using the platform as a user.
No, good. Ladies and gentlemen, go download the app. I would suggest younger people to check out the app. But I also want to know from you before I close this. What are you reading today? What inspires you otherwise?
Mostly a lot of it. I keep rereading Daniel Kahneman.
Okay.
So it's not
why Daniel Kahneman?
Now we are building a product for consumers. So it's psychology, human behavior is something that is very fascinating in terms of how we react, how we respond, how we fight, and building a category where we are actually educating people to not dramatically shift, but at least give it a different perspective. So it requires some amount of understanding in terms of human behavior. So it's a fascinating book that I keep going back to. And of course, there are a few others around atomic habits or a few other things which are very relevant to what we are building.
Yeah, that's mostly on the startup side of things. But Daniel Kahneman is what you would recommend as an author.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your guide to happiness? Quickly.
Mine is personal thing. I do meditation, so that's my go-to source for actually taking all the things away and just focusing on doing nothing, as Naval calls it. I generally do that. That is my go-to space, and that gets me back to this routine.
Yeah, meditation. Guys, guide to happiness is one thing from me, being debt-free. Check out Multipl, guys. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being on the UpStreamLife.com. Thank you, Paddy.
Thank you.